Hello everybody, this is Josh Bycer from GameWisdom.com. Welcome to a video examination of Oddworld New and Tasty. This is the remake of the classic game Oddworld Abe's Oddysee by Oddworld Inhabitants. They were kind enough to give me a press key to take a look at this game again because the original was one of my favorites. If you missed my critical thought on Oddworld, basically, the studio was founded to create very imaginative and unique games, and they essentially built the Oddworld brand and lore and world by themselves. They released 4 games in their main series. They're currently working on a mysterious one called, I think, Soulstorm at the moment. And we're going to play through New and Tasty, at least through the first area. While I like it, some of my memories seem to be a little bit rose-tinted. I think some of this could also be a few interesting problems with this version of the game. Anyway, we're going to get started. I've already been playing through it on my main character, but I started a new one so we can go through this. Okay. We always got to play on hard, right?
Here we go.
And the first thing that I want to show off is really how imaginative Oddworld is and what really made it stand out back in the day. So I'm going to let you guys enjoy the opening cutscene. So, I'm going to shut up now.
Follow me. This is Rupture Farms. They say it's the biggest meat processing plant on Oddworld. I used to work here. Well, I was really a slave, like all the others. That's me. My name is Abe. I was Employee of the Year. Now I'm dead meat. I crossed the meanest boss in the world. Mullet the Gluckin. My whole life changed in just one day. I was working late one night at Rupture Farms. We used to make beach munchies. Until the beaches were through. We still made pearmite pies. And we made some good scram cakes, too. I thought I had a good job, but that was before I knew how we'd make new and tasty. I was still to find. What? The truth, it turned out. Now that would blow my mind. The Gluckins were scared because profits were grim.
How the hell we gonna get out of this one?
Paramites and scrabs had been turning up thin.
As you can see, things are going down. What? My God, Mark, what are you gonna do about it, huh? Watch.
But Mullet was cool.
Show
All right, boss. He had a plan.
How?
This new kind of meat?
We got arrested.
It was us.
We got a lot of luck. We'll chop them up.
escape. I just had to be free. I didn't even know I had a destiny. So, get me out of here!
Alright, I hope you enjoyed that. And you can see from like those first 2 minutes, like just how imaginative the Oddworld series is. I bet the guys who voiced the Gluckets had a lot of fun doing that. The game in the series, or at least the first 2 games in the Oddworld series, are action platform puzzle. It's less about solving like doors or complicated situations. It's more about how do I get from point A to point B without getting killed. Now, playing on hard mode means that a lot of the puzzles have also been tweaked to be even harder, either reducing the amount of safe time to do them or adding in little challenges. Now, one thing that I noticed about this remake that I don't remember from the original, there's a stiffness to these controls. Now, you're not seeing this from what you're on the screen, but there's a good like quarter second or almost like a millisecond of a delay between me switching the analog stick's direction and him changing direction. Even with performing actions like jumping. Because you go from run immediately, in the original one, I believe you had to hold down a button to run. This is all done on the analog stick. So if I want to do there's no easy way to just force a walk. I either run, or I hold down left button to do a sneak. But to do a run, I have to sort of go like, or walk, I have to do this. And there's different kinds of jumps depending upon what his velocity is. Now, I'm going to show you a really good example of poor gating. Right here. I'm moving slowly for a reason. Do you see that in the right next to that, the second barrel, not the one close to Abe? You see that little vent right there? That is actually a secret area that if you want to get the best setting in the game, you have to rescue all the Mudokons. And this is actually a really bad example of gating by the developers. I'm kind of surprised this was put in. The problem is that this is introduced before the player has even been given a chance to understand the controls. So they would have no idea that not only is this something that's meant to be interacted with, but it's part of the main objective of the game. And this is actually a point of no return. If you don't do this in the right order, you will miss this and you will be unable to get the best ending in the game. In the original, they've also, one thing about New and Tasty, they've expanded the game. In the original Abe's Oddysee, you only need, I think, 99 Mudokon to get the good ending. If you saw earlier, it's now 299. So what they should have done, really, is introduce the first secret as a part of the tutorial. This would do 2 things. It would show the player what the controls are for interacting with those grates, or those vents, and will clue them in to be on the lookout. Now, I don't know if they actually do this on the lower difficulty, so that could be different. But again, if you have tutorial messages, you have to have tutorials. Another problem is that if you're going for the secret, it's actually going to tell, it's requiring skills that the game hasn't actually taught you yet. So we can actually talk to these Mudokon. If they die, we have to restart the section. So what I do is this.
Follow me.
Move some over there. Tell them to wait.
Follow me.
So the idea is I want to get them to follow me without getting crushed by the meat grinders. Wait for it.
Follow me.
Oh! And of course that can happen. Playing on hard mode, the checkpoints are even further spaced out.
Howdy. Hey there. Follow me. Let's go. Wait here.
You go here.
Everyone. Hello.
Now, I don't want to use everyone because that's going to pull everyone around me.
Hello. Follow me. Wait. Hello.
Now, another problem that I've seen with this version is that the timing to go under fascinating seems to be affected by the refresh rate of your monitor. So, if your computer or your refresh rate is too high, some of these things are fast to the point of being near impossible. So now, we need to basically drop down, and that guy is sleeping. He'll go back to sleep in a second. And we need to immediately drop down and then go one platform lower so he doesn't shoot us. Good. There we go. So this is the other problem with this kind of pacing. We have to use Abe's special ability, which is to chant and possess enemies. Now what's fun is we can actually talk with him. This is like his most offensive mechanic too. He's gone. Now I can't do it up here because that red thing will actually shock me, as you can see. So we basically have to do this again. Wait. So this kind of puzzle solving really is inventive. They really didn't do anything else like this from like other series at the time, other than if you want to play Oddworld. So they will follow me as long as they have a path to go. Now, I know some of you argue that this is an optional area, that you're not supposed to, ease the player in when we're talking about optional stuff. But have something literally at the beginning of the game, and of this level of difficulty without properly explaining things is not good design. In the Mario games, when they have hidden optional stuff at the start, it's still based on the relative difficulty of the section. Yeah. We still have to rescue that guy. We'll see if we can get him in a second. So what we need to do is basically get him to come at the right moment. Switch. And they're all free. Now, of course, we need to get out. And there we go. So, first section is done. For this video, we're going to stick to the first area of the game. That will show off, I think, more than enough of New and Tasty. So this is what I was talking about. These guys immediately show up. Now, if you didn't know about chanting, you would think this area would be, you couldn't get back to it. But you'll also see why that is the case in a minute. Now we need to run over here. So this directory shows us how many Mudakin are in this area. There's 61 left. And while that is a high number, we're going to get through that very quickly. Now, if you see, there is another vent right down there. Again, that delay of moving and doing actions really gets in the way. Now, here's another issue with this kind of gating. In the original Abe's Oddysee, the ability to possess the I think they're called the Slig, doesn't show up until later in the game, probably about the end of Chapter 2. So even though this is pretty much required to find everything right now, the game doesn't tell you or doesn't properly teach the player these mechanics until it's too late. Now it's going to teach me about chanting to free Mudakin in a second. Now I'm doing this because if I don't do this properly, this area becomes a point of no return. So, goodbye. And if you leave an area, each area of the game is basically a one-way trip, or a point of no return. Now, if you see, there is another vent right down there. I think you know what that means. Interestingly, as another little thing, normally when you're holding down X and you run towards interactable, he will do it automatically, as you just saw. But vents require you to actively get there. Now, this introduces grenades, which will come in a few minutes. So what we need to do is throw the grenades. Now, if I can do this right, we'll do a little trick throw. Oh, no. Ooh, almost got killed there. So we will possess him. Goodbye. And this is another little bit of a trick with the pacing, is that the grenades we find in this secret area are required to access the other secret area. Okay, so we need to blow this guy up. Goodbye. Now that the bird portal will come back, they're never gone permanently. You can also break a few of these challenges if you hold on to grenades long enough, which is why I always want to keep a stock of 3. So we need to go back here.
Now what?
And what's very interesting is that these kinds of secret areas don't show up in at least the second chapter, so it just feels like this is a new addition to make the game like even harder. So the challenge here is we need to get these guys out, but by trying to get them out, it's going to put us in a dangerous spot. So if you watch, we can, if the timing, like I have these things set on, but even with that, the time to roll underneath that and survive is very, very narrow to the point of frustration. And I hope they do something about that, because there's a later secret area that really is nasty about that. Go team, go. So here's where the little trick comes in, and this is where guiding the people comes in handy. So I need to get them beyond the electrical gate there, because if I pull that switch and they're there, they will get fried. Remember, I can't let any of them die if I want the best ending. So we just gotta do it like this. It's based on their position in relation to 8. There's also additional speak. You can laugh, whistle, and of course fart. And one more. Remember, if any of them die, I have to restart. So now, if I did my job right. Come on, guys, let's go. Okay, we want to do this just right. Yay! And they all survived. But you can sort of grasp how these puzzles work in this game, in New and Tasty. You're basically having to figure out, how do I get these people alive while keeping myself going too, and also finding these areas. So here's another one. So this is one, again, that we have to make use of grenades. Aiming with the analog is a little bit annoying too.
Hello. Follow me. Okay. Hi.
Okay. So of course we have mines right here.
Everybody, follow me.
Come on, guys. To freedom. Of course, we need to get out as well. Again, timing is important here. Now, I think for the sake of not making this a complete spoiler, this will be the last secret area I think we will look at. I think there's one more that I do actually want to just poke my head in to show you what I mean about some of the problems with the controls with this delay. But I will point out where the next secret area is, but I won't show it to you, essentially.
Oh, yeah. Hey there. Follow me. Okay.
What's nice is they will mimic you, so this is how you would sneak past if you didn't deal with that slig earlier.
Man, these hours are terrible.
Well, if you look, this is where the game formally introduces rescuing the Mudakin. If the pacing was better, those 3 secret areas would have come after this. Basically, they should have taught the player how to do these mechanics before introducing them here. Now, this is different from a game like Super Mario World or Super Mario Galaxy, where the advanced mechanics of jumping and such are basically evolved forms of what you would normally be doing. So if the player just keeps jumping, they'll figure it out. These things like chanting and finding secret vents, you would never know about it because the game makes no explanation of those kinds of systems. So again, come through. Now another important part is you can roll. And you'll keep your velocity while you're rolling. So you can roll into a jump, or while running, go like that. But I've noticed that there is a delay when trying to perform like 2 or 3 actions at the same time. Like, watch. When he stops, when he's doing that little stagger before he fully stops, I cannot tell him to roll. I can only tell him to roll while he's in running, motion, or still. But if, let's say there's something dangerous, you want to quickly stop, you're kind of stuck. No pun intended there. Goodbye. So down there is where there's another secret. You have to pull the switch and then quickly fall down. But again, I don't want to show off everything here. And you can actually break that secret by holding onto a grenade from those earlier puzzles. Wait for it. Goodbye. Now, as a nice touch, those signs will always point to bottomless pits, so they tell you not to jump down those looking for secrets. Come on, guys. Again, the game looks really good. Very unique in terms of its design. So you get bottle caps you can throw to also mess with people too. But holding on the grenades is safer. So up here is another example of the problems with how they've introduced mechanics. In the original, again, you didn't get the ability to possess characters until later in. This one starts you off with it, and it basically breaks this section. Normally, I would have to carefully sneak with that guy in tow in order to avoid him from shooting me. But now I can just finish it off like that. Boom. Just completely trivializes this section, and that's not good design. It's also not good in terms of gating. You never want to trivialize the design or the challenge of the game. Now here's a little bit of a troll. There's actually a Mudakin right in there.
Hello. Follow me.
that you would not know about if you weren't really paying attention. So
Wait.
do this.
Okay.
So this part introduces sort of a stealth mechanic. As long as I am not running and inside the smoke, he will not see me. So say goodbye to the slig. Now there is actually no secret down there.
Hey, chum, follow me. Where are we going?
Come on, guys.
Everybody, follow me.
And you're about to see another bit of the technical issues with the refresh rate and frames per second issue.
Everybody, follow me.
But first, let me rescue this guy. Welcome to the bane of many players' existences, and that's these bombs. Now, if you watch this pattern, the only way to get through this safely is you need to hit on the 4th green pit there. But to do it, you need to hit it while it's red. Because that half delay, or that millisecond delay of when he's reaching over, will get you screwed. Now, if I didn't have VSync on, because of the higher refresh rate on my monitor, this thing will be moving so fast, it becomes even harder to do right. So, I'll do it on this one, hopefully. There we go.
Oh, yeah, follow me. Okay.
But there's a part with spinning blades later that is so frustrating because of this problem, and I'm not sure they've actually fixed it yet. Okay. I almost sent that guy to his maker there. Wait for it. Now, of course, I could possess him, but that's sort of the canon way of dealing with him. Now, these sections are very annoying because of that delay. You can't stay right on the edge like this, or you won't jump in time. So you have to sort of be moving into it. There you go. And that becomes a whole lot more challenging as you get later in. So there's more hidden stuff over here. And again, I'm not going to rescue everyone because this video is starting to get a little bit long. But I do want to show off another bit of advanced mechanic that the game wants you to make use of. And that is setting up traps. So what you do is... well, you don't do that. Basically, the enemies only exist, or they only hear you, if you are on screen with them. So what I need to do is actually sneak over here. You can actually sneak while crawling, which is a good touch. I'm going to trick him into running over that mine. Now, I can't chain and possess them, because if they see me while they're being possessed, they will kill me. So watch this. Quickly run over here and say goodbye. Boom. So let's move into the final part of Act 1. Now I want to show you this. This is actually a good example because this is the speed of a later challenge. Some people have been saying the best thing to do is to do like a quick save, like so. I hope I do this right. Let's see.
Wait, time's over.
And I mean, you're watching this. I know this is not the right way to do this section. But there is a part coming up that is literally this challenge. You have to roll underneath these things at this speed. So, and that delay and just the speed just make it very frustrating. See? Now I just did that. And so it's possible, but it is very, very tricky. And there's one more section that I want to show off, and then we will end this video. As I said, I'm not going for 100% here, because I don't want to spoil the whole thing. But there's one more part that shows sort of the finickiness of these controls. So, let's say goodbye to him. So it is another secret area, but we're not going to completely solve it. Ooh. Now there's a sign letting us know that we're entering the point of no return. First things first, we'll do that. Now of course, I could possess him. But you really need to learn how to throw in order to get through a lot of the challenges in this game. So this is one of the parts sort of where the stiffness of the controls can come back to bite you. Watch. Because of that that delay of stopping, you have to roll. Or you just, because of that delay, you won't have enough time to recorrect yourself. So we need to actually roll through here. But even when you're rolling, as you can see, it's very hard to make precision stops and motions due to these delays in these controls. Oh. We'll do it one more time and then we'll wrap it up. Oh. Missed it by a second. Now you can move very slowly, but it's kind of hard to get that right, especially in the heat of the moment. I'm pretty sure. Oh, yay. There we go. And that's that. Alright, so we're going to wrap it up here for this spotlight of New and Tasty. Again, this is a really great remake in terms of adding more challenges and improving the graphics. But the delay and sort of like the gating issues with some of these secrets is a bit of a problem. Now, of course, those gating issues aren't going to be a factor once the player knows what they're doing, but it can be frustrating for new players. So, just to show things off, we'll show the cutscene to end this area, and then we will say goodnight. Now again, because I didn't rescue those people, they are going to die, but this isn't my main save, so I'm not too worried about it. But again, very imaginative puzzles, and it's just like they really don't make puzzle platformers like this. I hope we do get around to seeing Abe's Exodus at some point being remade. So here's the cutscene that will end this video on. Those are the scarabs, and you'll eventually find you'll deal with these other creatures, and they each have their own kind of AI pattern. Like for instance, you cannot possess them normally, so you have to run when you see them. Again, the game just really looks good. As you can see down there, casualties, we left 14 to die. Oh, 15. And then this introduces motion scanners, so if you're moving and they run over you, they're going to send something to kill you. So technically I've lost the good ending at this point. So you see we try and possess him, it's not going to work. So again, that delay of motion and stopping can really screw you in sections like this. But again, I could sit here and play the whole game and easily, but this video is starting to run a bit on the long end. So thanks so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video examination of New and Tasty, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Leave a comment, it always helps out. You can follow me on Twitter under GW Bycer for the latest updates of new content. Be sure to check out game-wisdom.com where I examine the art and science of games. And you can find me on Patreon under Game Wisdom. Animations will be greatly appreciated. They will allow me to support myself while continuing to put out more content. And when we hit some goals, it will mean more of everything for people to enjoy. Boom. Thanks again for tuning in. And be sure to check out my critical thought on Oddworld as well. Thanks again, and I'll see you all next time.